because I think it's nuanced. I think that emotions are good under certain circumstances, but bad under other circumstances. You know what I mean? So can you
Say more
speak
about
to,
that.
well, so in other words, like, you know, I've heard the saying, and I think maybe even Tony Robbins might have said this, that sometimes, you know, at some point, you know, stop thinking and just let it and feel it. And let the inner dialogue happen. But then again, I've heard other things that say, you know, well, emotions can take you off on some other tangent because maybe they're the wrong type of emotions that you're feeling and you're focused on them. And that's leading you astray from your ability to actually function. So I guess maybe that's the point. Maybe it's the type of emotion. What's the emotion that causes peace and balance? What are the emotions that cause anxiety and other kinds of negative things that take you away from motivation and goal striving and all that kind of stuff? Do you have any thoughts on how to detect that?
I do. So what you're talking about, emotions are neither good nor bad. It's if we are mastering the emotion or if the emotion is mastering us.
Oh,
that's what makes it good or bad.
Oh, that's interesting.
And to your point about being victim, so many people just feel like they're victims to their emotions. Like, this made me mad, or this made me sad, or this hurt my feelings, or this discouraged me. Like it's some sort of external thing can make them feel things. And I'm not negating that we're affected by things in our lives, but as you grow in personal development, emotional mastery is you're choosing how you want to feel. You're deciding. So this is one exercise I did that was really impactful in my life, and it was through a Tony Robbins workbook that I did.
Okay.
And he said to decide the top 5 to 10 emotional states that you wanted to experience every day, like decide it in advance.
Interesting.
And so I wrote a list, and some of them were like, I wanted to feel generosity every day. I wanted to feel gratitude every day. I wanted to feel excitement every day. I wanted to feel the feeling of excellence every day, that I gave my best. I wanted to feel discipline every day. Those were like 5 of the ones. I think I have 8. I call them like my core values. And it was so interesting because once I set those as my intentions, like every day, and then you define how you make the definitions that you could feel that thing like 10 times a day if you wanted to. Gotcha. You don't make it like, if your definition, say I had written down that I wanted to feel love every day, and my definition is when somebody else, you know, tells me that they love me. Well, that might not happen for a week, you know? So then I set myself up that I can never feel love. But if I define love as anytime I give love, well, then I could give love like 10 times a day. And then I'm in the energy and the emotion, I get to experience love 10 times a day. So it's like part of emotional mastery is like deciding what you want to feel every day. And being intentional about that. When you decide already, your mind and everything conspires in your life then to look for ways to feel that way.
Wow.
For you to be able to feel that way.
Interesting.
So that's how to start using. So if you have a goal and you know, like, to reach that goal, I'm going to need to be in an emotional state of where I feel empowered, emotional state where I feel resourceful, an emotional state where I feel disciplined. Like some of these things, if you know to reach that goal, you're going to need to be in these emotional states.
Interesting.
It's like starting to really like be intentional about like looking for ways. Okay, I feel empowered every time I do something hard, or every time I do something I don't want to, or every time I create a solution. You can like define what that is and then start to like really focus on ways like, oh gosh, I felt empowered like 10 times today.
Interesting.
You know, versus like thinking that you're a victim to like, gosh, I hope the cloud of empowerment passes over me and I can reach out and grab it in and soak in a couple of drops. Like, you're a victim to whether or not a feeling comes your way.
Interesting.
And same with bad feelings. Like, we're hardwired to, when something happens, we have an emotional reaction immediately that we think, oh, this is bad or this is good. And then it kicks off a feeling. So part of growing in emotional mastery is learning to see whatever happens as neither good nor bad. And this takes time. This is not an overnight thing.
Okay.
This is like a process of unlearning your responses.
Yes.
Okay, this is neither good nor bad. It's the story I'm telling myself about it that makes me feel sad or happy or rejected or ecstatic or whatever that is.
Wow. That's incredible. I mean, that's extremely powerful. I know for me, it's like, I think I'm similar. I think I might be kind of doing this, but I may not be using the terminology. It's like little victories. Like, so for example, the very first thing I do when I wake up is make my bed. And for me, it's like, it's a big victory. It's like, no matter what happens. And I think this was actually discussed in one of these graduation speeches by a military person who said this.
Yeah.
Make your bed every single day. And no matter what happens, you know, when you come home, if you had a bad day or a good day, you come home to a made bed. And
Yeah.
so
And you feel proud of yourself.
You feel
Right.
proud. It's just like this little tiny step of empowerment. Okay, that's done. What's next? You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So in some sense, I mean, it's not as powerfully sexy and robust as emotional mastery, like what you're describing. But I think it's kind of, you know, my bed making is a similar kind of logic.
But say you decided you wanted to feel more discipline in your life, or the state of being in discipline, and then you defined it like, well, I feel disciplined every time I make my bed, or every time I, you know,
that's interesting,
pay my bills, on whatever, however you define that for yourself. Then you set up these little like micro situations that kick off that feeling, and you're train yourself to feel that way.
That's super powerful.
Yeah,
that's incredibly powerful. Are there any situations where it doesn't work? When does it not work?
What does not work?
To micro defining and mastering your definition.
Oh, it doesn't work a lot of times because we're trying to undo like decades of conditioning.
Okay.
So I might decide that, like, when I put my list up there, it didn't happen in the next couple of weeks that I got to feel all those delicious things every day.
Gotcha.
You know, like that was like, it was over time, as I had them up on my vision board where I could see them, and I would read over them and be like, these are my intentions for today. I want to feel love, generosity. I want to feel, play was one of them, play, excitement, you know, and then you just look for, like, more and more you look for ways to see that. So when the time that doesn't work is like when something happens and your old response, your old conditioning kicks right in.
The old
conditioning. That takes a while to undo that.
That takes a while to undo that. Yeah, I love that. Okay, you mentioned